Hello, and we're just going to take a quick look at how we can use the graphical calculator in a different way to help us to check that we have the correct answers when we are doing a 2-sample normal or a 2-sample t-test. Now, the reason why I'm saying only to use this function as a method of checking is because if you enter something even slightly wrong into your calculator, you will get no marks for your actual hypothesis test bit, and that's going to really limit what you get. Whereas if you show that you are using the formulas, you will at least get those method marks. So I suggest sticking with the method shown in the other two videos and only using this as a way to check your results. So if we have a look back at our first example, the one about the lower and the upper reaches of the river, for the 2-sample normal. So if we go into, as you can see, I've already got all my working out written down from the last time that we went through this. If we go into the graphical calculator, into the stat function, if we go to test, and then remember that the symbol for the normal distribution is also Z, so we're going to go to Z, and here we have 2 samples, so we're going to go into 2-sample. Now, in our hypothesis test, the symbol is that mu L is bigger than mu U. So we need the symbol here by clicking F3. And as you can see, it's changed it here. The standard deviation of my mu1, so my L group, is 25. The standard deviation of my second group, so mu U, is 10. The mean of my first group is 99. And the sample size is 15. And the mean of the second group is 80.5. And the number of pieces of data in the second group is 10. And as you can see here, we've got 2.57, and here our test statistic was 2.57. Having a look at the second one just to show what happens when we're adding something. So this time we had mu U plus 10 on the right hand side. So I'm just going to click exit to go back. So this is still in the test T2 sample. So the symbol is still the same. The standard deviations are still the same. And the first group is going to stay the same. So the mean's still going to be 99 and the number of pieces of data is still going to be 15 using these data here. Now, because we're adding 10 to the mu U, we are going to have to add 10 to the sample mean for the upper reaches. So we're going to have to change that to 90.5 instead. But the number of pieces of data is still 10. And now you can see that we've ended up with 1.18 and our test statistic here was 1.18. I'll have a look at one more, what to do if we have a 2-tail test. So here we have a 2-tail test, so I'm just going to click exit to go back again. So remember, this is still in test T2 sample. So this time our symbol in our hypothesis test is not equal to, so we need to click the not equal to button. The standard deviation of the first group is 7. The standard deviation of the second group is 8.5. The mean of the first group, now because we're not adding anything onto that side, it's just going to be the same as what I've got written down here. So 66.7 and 9. And on this side, because we're adding on 3, I'm going to have to add on 3 to this mean. So that's going to give me 60.2 for the mean. But the standard deviation is going to stay the same as, the number of pieces of data stays the same, which was 11. And there we've got 1.88 rounded to 3 significant figures. And here our test statistic was 1.88 to 3 significant figures. Just to show you how this works with T, because it is slightly different. So here we had our T example. So this time, I'm going to have to go back. So we go into test again. We go into T. And this time we go into to sample. Now in this part of the calculator, and you should do this straight away just to make sure you've definitely got it turned on, you need to scroll down, and this bit here that says pooled, when you first enter this, if you haven't changed it, it will automatically be saying off. Now we need to change this to on. I'm not 100% sure why we have to have that on, but we do in order for it to work. I think it's about the pooling of the standard deviations, so that it's definitely using the SP² formula. So I think that's us telling the calculator that we want it to use that. So this time our mu O is bigger than mu S. Our first mean is 202.18. Our standard deviation is 10.7577155, and the number of pieces of data is 10. And for the second group, we've got our mean is 188.47. Our sample standard deviation is 12.516123, and the number of pieces data that we have is 10. And there we've got 2.63, and here our test statistic was 2.63. In a similar way, if we're having to add on a value to any of the sides, so here it was mu j that we were adding 4 onto. So I'm just going to click exit. So this is still in test T2 sample. So this time we want the first mean to be smaller than the second mean. Then typing in our data, remember that because we're adding 4 onto the June, we need to add 4 onto the mean for the June. So that's going to be 27.78. The standard deviation is going to be 1.08, and the number of pieces of data is 8. And for the second group, we're not adding anything onto the August side, so we're just going to have 28.4. The sample standard deviation is 1.88. And then the number of pieces of data is 9. Just double check I've put the right symbol in at the top. Yes, I did. Okay, so then when we click exit, we've got 0.819. And here our test statistic was 0.819. So this is a way that in the exam you can check your answers. As I said, and I cannot stress this enough, use the formulas first. Show clearly how you are using these formulas. Not only that, but sometimes in very rare occasions, you get the same answer regardless of if you use normal and T. And the only way that you can definitely show the examiner that you are using the correct 2 sample test is by showing you working out. Showing that if you're doing the normal, that you're using the formula, if you're using the T, that you're doing your SP² first and then substituting that into your formula. And it's very important that you do that. But if you've got a bit of time left at the end of the exam, or if you're well ahead on the timing of going through the questions, this is a very good, quick way that you can just double check you've got it right and move on, and then not have to worry about it anymore, instead of trying to read through it and check every single line of working to make sure you've got it correct. Thank you very much for listening.